Hey, so can everyone hear me? Everything happy? So can everyone hear me? Everything happy? My music isn't too loud. Ooh, my hat's jaunty. My music isn't too loud. Alright. My hat's jaunty. Okay, so, today we are gonna be doing animation type stuff. Let me load up Visual Studio here. Yeah. Yes, I had it muted. I had it unmuted, and now it's muted. Or yeah, that. And let me pull up what I was working on. At the end of the day yesterday, which was, or at the end of the day Friday, which was finally putting Jump back into the game. Um, Pull up that branch. Oh, come on. What are you doing here? And let's see. I'll just go ahead and rebase this onto the latest code. This was what I had in flight at the end of the day on Friday. And then just check on what exactly was I doing for a sec here. And the answer is I did not write a whole lot of code. I just barely started. Um, but all right, let Visual Studio finish its loady thing. I'm looking forward to getting this on 2017 real soon now. Um, if but it's always got a bounce. What do you mean back? My beard has been slowly growing back ever since I got married. And it's gonna keep on growing until we're in beta. I need the power of the beard to ship this game. It's the only way. Alright. Wow. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to finding the time to get us onto Visual Studio 2017 so that stuff like this won't happen quite as often. But, alright, I'm just gonna. Alright, now everything's just locked entirely. So right now I'm just focusing on animation for Jump. So just getting it back to the point where you'll actually boing instead of just kind of be running along and then continue running through the air. It was just something that got dropped when we went to the new animation system, and so now I'm going to fix that. So my lord, this thing is not behaving. Alright. Force quit Visual Studio. That's always a good sign when you start your stream off by doing that. Okay, finally it reloads. You all got to see my my glorious wallpaper. I'm a space nerd. It is true. All right, so into the actual code. Um, okay, so the little bit that I had done on at the end of the day Friday was, I'm gonna flip over to zoom mode. Is this bit here. Which was, I added a bunch of stuff where if we were looping one clip, instead of just looping the clip forever, it would look for a segment that was tagged as being loopable and loop that forever. And what I'm about to do is, and that's going to form the basis of our jump animation, because you're going to be running along and then you're going to play like into it, and then there'll be a center section that you'll loop, and then you'll come down and land. So, second thing I need to do is just put something in there to actually create a jump clip. And that'll sit in player entity, I imagine. Let's see, where did we have our jump code originally? So, so here's the code where we start a jump, but that's mostly just done locally, so I'm going to do something that works across all clients, not just my local one, I believe. Let me just triple check by pulling up the references on this, and yeah, that only happens for the local player. So I'm going to write something that just works universally. Actually, second thought, I think I'm just going to implement this for me locally, and what's going to happen there is I'm going to say I'm just going to make a new clip. Or rather, so I'm just diving in here. Let's see, I need to set a priority for this clip. And let's let's see, I'm going to say that the priority of this... So, this is kind of an interesting problem. I think my priorities are a little out of whack. Oh, sorry, I'll pull them down so you can see them. So I'm adding jump, and I'm looking at this and saying, yeah, walk should be, jump should be pretty high priority. It should take precedence over upper and lower body walk. But then I think these abilities, let's see, this should be, yeah, that looks awesome. So walk will take lower precedence on the upper body than your abilities, but when you're walking, it'll take higher precedence. Yeah, that's awesome. So the way animation works is there's kind of this priority system of, in each section of your body, various animations have different priorities, and which one is most important wins on that section of your body. So ability base is just like full body abilities, like how I move my feet when I'm stabbing, and that should take precedence over. That should always take precedence over walk on the upper body, but it should be below walking on the lower body. And then abilities, though, should, the ones where you're actually using the ability should take precedence over walk on your lower body when they're on your lower body, and that's specifically for your arm when you're stabbing. And jump should probably actually be in between there. And then flinch gets priority over everything, and death gets super priority, because if you're dead, you don't get to play any other animations. Death just wins. Death wins in the end. So, anyway, now back to player entity. I've added that bit of code to pick my priorities for the animations, and now add in. Really only need one tag, which will be and that's how I make a clip that's going to jump, except for one other thing. On finish equals no, not lookup skill. I'm going to also add another method. call that. Add this method to so add another clip for my jump animation, and also and that'll give me a way just to cancel out any jump. Get my jump clip, which I just then change this on finish to and then one last thing I need to do is just set it to actually and this was actually jump anim, not jump clip. And finally, clear out my shared pointer, which may possibly delete it, but behind the scenes, the character is doing its thing. So, and one more thing I need to say: when I land, I'm not airborne. Else, so if there is the jump timer in effect, then just count that down. Otherwise, okay, and I think I've actually already written everything that I need to make myself jump. Let's see how this looks. And meanwhile, I will catch up with the chat. So, yeah, to catch up on all of you guys, Yomi, that is definitely Codeception. Maybe I could do some web dev while watching you. Maybe I can watch your stream too. Who knows? So, what's it being coded in? It's this is our client. So the client is almost entirely C++, except for the UI, which is mostly written in TypeScript using React. And JB, you'll see JB doing his stuff. Yeah, and are the animations built at runtime or on request? The animations themselves are built on our build server. I can talk in really great detail about the entire build pipeline, and there's some other streams where we have. It's pretty much been consistent since we started our dev on CU. Um, so, and then they come down to you through the patcher, and it just does all of its cool stuff with our build pipeline. So can jump doesn't seem to check for walls or objects in front of the players. That is absolutely right, Odulvik. We could do that, but kind of my feeling is that we want you, what we want to do is let you start the action and then run smack into something. It's like, someone's just mashing on their keyboard and nothing's happening, and that's lame. Um, what's happened? So yeah, we're just going to start you forward, and then you'll check for walls and objects in front of you with your face, because chaos is fun. Scott the Rock says, when I jump in currently on Wormley and you pop through the ground, there's something crept in where we are not always where the collision model and the renderable model don't seem to line up. I'm gonna probably track down Rob on that and talk to him about exactly what. And I might do that as part of this, or I might run over and just do more animations. We will see. We'll see how the day goes. All right. And I have one compiler that I forgot about, which is back over here to anim priorities. These are implemented in bonemover.cpp, which I forgot to add. I've been spending all my days in C++ or in C# lately, so I always forget about. When I switch back, I always forget. Oh yes, you have to write things twice. Once in the header file, once in your C++ file. Someday C++ will get modules, and everything will be happy then. Alright, so I'm going to start up this build, and we'll be, as soon as that's done, hopefully we'll see me jumping around. Okay, good. It's in no server mode, and I actually start up the patcher to supply the client with data. One of the cool things that we do is we have all of our the patcher just runs as a completely separate process and feeds data to the game, so that it's able to just sit completely outside, and we don't have to build the game into the patcher. So eventually we'd like to add the ability to do full streaming. We have the technical architecture in place. It's mostly about just thrashing things down. This is great. I have like 3 copies of Visual Studio running at once. Alright, so here we go. First try on scene jump. Alright, and push the button. Hey, we have a jump animation now. So there's several things going wrong right now. First off, actually, let me find someplace I can jump off of. Should have picked another zone. I'm going to start the client up with another zone, and maybe it has some high things for us to jump off of, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Oh, Necro says, speaking of faces, can you make a nice expression for me to make a meme out of? On one condition. You have to build the meme in Cube. Are you ready? Here we go. Well, I'm like super washed out. Okay, hope that was good enough. Okay, so where were we? I don't make any no-code changes, so we will just start this up, and we will get back to trying to see if we can jump around the way we like. Okay, so the biggest problem I see is that I'll do this again over here. This might be a even better place to see it happen. So he's playing his one jump animation, and like it's just playing it straight through. So he really kind of plays the like I landed animation before it happens. So I'm going to pull up pull up this, and the animation he's playing. Here's a cool trick people on Hatchery can do. Anim nameplate 1. Oops. Yeah. Say that in the client. Oh, I get distracted. I'm sorry. And here you can see all of his animation data just embedded in there as what is he doing. And jump 02 is the animation that he's playing, which is just a plain jump. So I'm gonna go over, and I can see here in this little central thing of, hey, jump 02 doesn't have a loop in the middle, so I'm going to talk with Scott about that and get things set up well. And I will be right back, and I will bring Scott over here to talk to everybody. Okay. So confirmed with Scott that the thing to do is just change it over so that everywhere that right now we're using jump 02, I should just change it to use jump 01. So actually does yeah, oh yeah, find and replace, look at that. Okay, so I'm just going through and replacing a whole bunch of places that we use jump in this massive spreadsheet. And let me load up the editor and use that to, or I can just say, hey Bull, do you have the editor open? Okay, don't worry then. I was gonna say, if you have the editor open, then just start a build for me, but So what's happened here is I have started the editor just so that I can say file, or rather edit wait a second. Tell builders to build. There we go. Sorry, stuff in our editor likes to move around. Bull likes to move it. Let's just tell it like it is. So build is going to build, and right here where Camelot Unchained says updated 12 minutes ago for the hatchery channel, that's going to change in a minute or two, and I'll have a massive new set of animations, and everyone connected to hatchery will get a 73 meg patch. So in the meantime, I'll go ahead and quit the client because it can't. It does not auto update, auto reload animations, and that might be a thing that we will add today. Alright, so in can jumped you need to check for already jumping. So to answer that question, here's a little snippet of code. And you'll see bool can jump equals not airborne and is alive, and the jump timer is not already counting down. So can jump. So obviously, if you have jumped, then you are airborne, and so can jump is automatically going to be false. So that's the trick there. And jump timer is something that was already set up to basically say, like, put a little bit of delay, like when I push the button down, because I may not instantly go airborne. There's a little bit of spring up. So because I won't instantly go airborne, we can't just like hammer on can jump over and over and over. So jump timer starts off. So if jump timer, we set jump timer up to the jump delay, and then we start you jumping. And then if you immediately call this after the fact, in a very near term, jump timer would be above 0, so it would be inhibited. And then after a little longer, airborne is going to be true, and both of those will inhibit you from double jumping too quickly. How much money are we going to drop on the shaving the beard deal? The beard is about beta. This beard is not going away until we are 100% in beta. So anyway, let's see, is the patcher... patcher's not updated yet. Are we sure this is building? Oh, here it comes. It was slower than I would have liked, but it still made it down. Alright, so I'm going to run it again with a jump clip that's got animations in the proper place, or that actually has an animation clip that's set up to loop, and we will see the magic. So this is a nice place to jump off of. And this is not really doing what I wanted it to. Um, okay, so something's going weird with actually playing the loop. In fact, it doesn't appear to be playing the loop section. And let's have a look at this sheet. What's going on here? And I see the problem. Problem here is that Scott set this to 0 frames long, and that's not a thing we can do. We can't loop 0 frames. Maybe I'll make it so we can, though. That might be a better solution. Because there's not a clean way to splice this in. Yeah. 2115 to 2140. Just make it 2116. How's that sound? Alright. Scott's coming over to rescue me. And okay, so make that one change and kick off another build. And in the meantime, while I wait for that, I'm going to see if I can't possibly change us out to how hard would it be to completely reload a skeleton. Yeah, you don't want to watch that. That would be a big distraction today. To make skeleton or to make animation packs loaded in place. All right, so let's see. What if I had a macro that presses the jump key on a time interval shorter than what floating point can represent? So I'll tell you exactly what would happen. The first time it came through, it would run that bit of code and would set the jump timer to like the maximum delay, which I think is 0.7 seconds, and then you'd come in again at 0.0000 whatever is 0 seconds farther, and the second time the jump timer would be above 0, so by like 70 milliseconds above 0, and we would early out. So that's easy. What other animations can we expect soon, like this week? I'm going to push into doing sit and emotes, and also just generally working on like polish and tweaking type things. So yeah. So the client does not actually reload the animations. I do have to restart the client to get the new animations in, but the patcher picks it up. So right now we're just waiting on that build. Can you jump backwards? Yes, you can. You've got what we've got is what we've got right now. We just play the one jump animation, but I'm definitely game for adding in more than one directional jump, so that we play things a little different depending on which way you're moving. It's really just, at the time that you push the jump key, what direction was your character moving. So. There's some kind of... Alright, and here we come. And here we go, back to the game. Okay, so in that case, you definitely saw him. Okay, so that doesn't look quite right to me. Um, he goes up. So I think Scott's got some stuff in here to. I think he's starting. He's just fading out way too fast. So we probably want fade to end to take about 0.2 of a second. Um, and I'm just going to quickly make these fields public so I can test it out. Actually, it makes more sense to do that. So that'll give us a little more time to see him kind of go boing, boing, boing. Probably will look a little better. Actually, I don't want to... Okay, so that'll... Yeah, I was doing everything wrong. I was fading everything out way too quick. So the two differences are I set it so that it'll only blend out about half as fast, and secondly, instead of immediately starting to fade the clip out, it'll wait until we are on our way to fading it. It'll just fully fade it out normally and take care of it then. So I think this is gonna look a lot better. I keep forgetting to update my camera. I'm sorry. I'm kind of obsessed, I think, with doing cool things here. Yeah, so there is actually a landing recovery animation at the end of the jump clip, but we were just ending it way too soon. So, Ludi, this is a hard thing. You say it needs more pop in the legs while leaving the ground. This is a hard thing to do with games and jump animations. Like, on the one hand, we want the game to feel as responsive as it possibly can, which is to say, when you do something, like, it immediately happens. We don't, like, you push the button and your character just leaves the ground. Just think about Super Mario. Just boing, boing. And in real life, people can't do that. But, people anticipate. They lower their body and then push off. But the problem is that we want the game to be as responsive as possible, and kind of, like, you taking that action to push the button is kind of the same thing virtually as when I coil my legs to get ready to jump. And that's kind of a contradiction because... Okay, let's just look at this on level ground before I start playing around. Okay, that's way too much. So anyway, I want to kind of me taking the action to move my finger to the button and press it is sort of what's taking the place feel-wise of me coiling my legs to jump. And then we really want you to leave the ground at that same time, but that makes it hard to, make it physically plausible. So there's this tension between, do we make your character as responsive as possible, or do we have the most realistic animations as possible? But yeah, this is not great right now, because I think we're so this is So it looks to me like he's not changing to his recover until he already lands. And I'm wondering if the is airborne is getting set is not getting set or what. So I'm going to just put a breakpoint in here and see how. Now that seems like it's getting hit pretty tight. Like that feels instant. Um, I'm going to do something that's long, long overdue and put in a So I'm just going to put in a way to slow down time in the client. Local time, scale. And if the time scale is not Okay, so that should just let me tweak the time and slow this way, way down. All right, I need to have someone who just like comes up behind me and whacks me when I leave it. Yeah, when I leave it focused on the game while I'm editing code. All right, so that'll let me slow down time significantly, and well, one more line I need. This is more complicated than I thought. Um, all right, new world time. So multiply that out. Alright, I think that will make everything fine. And not return, just readjust. Actually, there's... Okay. This will be good enough. There'll be a little hitch when you change the time, but that's more than good enough for our purposes here. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you, Artilla. What does jump like Jordan mean to you? Like just the float, the hover? Because, okay, so when I think about Jordan and jumping and, how he moved, the thing, Jordan, he had an impressive hang time, but what made him look so amazing and so exciting as a player was not so, if you, like, watch the old videos of him, he's not, it's not that his hang time isn't so much more than other players, it's well above, but it's notable, but not like 2 times as long. But Jordan, he would jump from farther back and release later. So the time from when his feet left the ground to when the ball left his hands was much, much longer than a lot of other players, even though the time that his feet were in the air was only maybe a little bit. So yeah, that's what Jordan means to me. Um, but you tell me. I mean, I'm all right. We got our code up yet? All right. Here we go. What's local time scale? Oh, I don't think we even need this anymore. That's gonna work better. Play with my math, get it right. Oh my god, Necro, you're actually doing it! I want, I want to, I cannot wait to see this. I also want to, like, write some kind of, like, horrible, like, automatic model to cube converter, or image to cube converter now. You know, like just the ASCII art converters. Why are we all sitting there with jackets? Because jackets make us look cool. Uh, Okay, actually, I'm not sure what Gabe is saying under the jacket. Um, um, okay, here we go. Load up our North Island and okay, so 2 definitely works. Why do values less than 1 not work? Because this. Yay, parentheses. Current world time. Okay, so yeah, I had the parentheses backwards. That's one of those trying to talk in code at the same time. All right, Necro. I promise I will not automate cube. um, so, Odilvik, you asked me a couple times. Can't you just divide current world time by a variable amount? The answer is if so that just take current world time and multiply the entire thing by 2 or whatever. what I was trying to avoid, what I was trying to, like, if the game was always and forever running at a certain time scale, yes. The difference is that, say the game runs for an hour, and then I change the time scale. So what would happen then is that if I were just multiplying it all around, what would happen is that it would suddenly jump from 1 hour to 2 hours, and we'd get a 1 hour time delta. Likewise, if I suddenly slowed it down, the time would go from 1 hour down to 30 minutes, and then we would essentially time would start running backwards. And what I was trying to do was smooth it out. We have two. We have these two kinds of things. One is like just the wall clock time measured from your system, and the other is what was the world time at that time. And so what I want to do is, when we change the time scale, reset the clock base and the game's world time base at the same time in sync. Like this. Okay, so here we go. We are running in super slow motion. Okay, so I go up, and so there's definitely a lag there between when I touch down and when I move into recover. What's my time scale set to? 0.2. Let's turn it to even slower than that. So what's going to happen here is so he comes down and he touches down and stops moving, and yeah, he continues for quite some time. Then he lands and he comes back up, and that's all good. But the lag between when he lands and when I stop moving is not good. Let me just pull this out a little bit so I can totally confirm with watching like when my feet touch, like sync up with the shadow. It's always easier to just tell like. Okay, so, and jump. So prepare is stepping through the various frames, and watch him come down. It's like he just sort of freezes there. So it's that lag between so. Alright, one more time. Now look at exactly when what the prepare is doing there. So he touches down right there. So it seems like we run through that little loop at the end of prepare a couple of times before we actually clear it. So the question is, going back to the code, or in clear jump, when does this actually run? Yeah, so he sits on the ground for a good long time. And we are... Oh, I... Obviously... Else we need to clear the jump timer, because we weren't counting the down the jump timer unless you were airborne. That should make it look a lot nicer. And while we yep. So ultimately, catching up on all of this, the motion of the cloth. Yeah, the motion of the cloth is pre-animated, and that's mostly how do we get to 1,000 characters all running around type of situation instead of running physics simulations. One of the things that I'd really love to do is add in just physics simulation for the cloth just for you and maybe the people closest to you. But that's definitely not a this gets us with the gameplay we want for beta. So that's why it's not in there. Yeah, it's definitely a thing I would love to have, though. Um, yeah. So going down the list of questions, will there be physics to move to the environment, when to move grass and trees? Yes. Again, that's not a this gets us to beta thing, but it's definitely a thing that probably George or Dave is going to get to add. And yeah, me huge. I could see that in normal time. Yeah, I could see it in normal time too. That's why I started debugging it. I was like, this doesn't look right. But, exactly what was going on relative to the timers was the tricky part. So, oops, clear my breakpoint out. Okay, so that looks a lot better. It doesn't have nearly as much lag on it, although it still does have a tiny bit. Let's look at him jumping off some ledges. Okay, so slow motion jump. Here we go. And that definitely, okay, that did not look awesome because he had so much forward momentum that his animation was just doing. Yeah, because he definitely landed into a crouch, or landed into a non-moving kind of thing, and then sort of blended out of that into a running animation. So that's still not looking super great. So we might need to do jump animations that are keyed to your rate of motion. Something's just weird with that. I don't think it looks good. Could just be that the ground is not level and there's no IK. So you just do it someplace the ground is level. I'm going to do one more thing to smooth out the time scale, and then I'm going to pull Scott over here to have a look at this. So, because this time scale is just like kicking off 60 hertz frames, but less often. And what I'd like to do is just show some in-between frames. Um, time times build physics FPS. Okay. So all I did was just say that the physics time step will readjust itself when you whenever you change the time scale, so that now it's going to move super smooth. Um, and I'm going to take a quick break to get another drink, and I'll be back with Scott to kind of look over exactly what we're seeing here. So yeah, back in 1 second. Okay. Yeah, because I've gotten up. Okay. So, yeah, Scott and I were talking about how it really doesn't look good when you land. Well, it looks okay when you land. You know, there's that slide on the left foot, but that's part of Scott's animation, so Scott's going to change the animation. But it just doesn't look good to have like this animation run forward, land into a crouch while your character still has forward momentum. You know, because you just end up, you know, so we're talking about maybe doing something different to give you forward momentum when you.
I've got an idea. If we're in transit and we're in the air and we
Mhm.
have a velocity, on my recover frames, if I was to match the first frame of our locomotion, can we always start at frame 0 or 1 of forward run instead of like where we might have left off, like some arbitrary number like frame 17? That way we would always have a right foot forward, left foot back,
Yeah.
and then I can anticipate that in the air, and so we can hang like Jordan.
Yeah.
We'll go like that, and I can even, I suppose I could put a velocity in that foot as it grounds, but will you be able to speed up that animation if the velocity is faster than, say, like the standard 5 meters a second?
um,
Like if you're going, turbo time, we have that. If I
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like we sync the, like when you're running, we sync your leg speed.
So maybe I'm gonna have to do a combat jump and a travel jump with two different velocities, 2 meters
Yeah,
and
and like
5 meters.
what we really want is you to do this.
Yeah, I've seen JB was playing the game, and it was really they were using that, and they kept the bicycling, sequence of a walk cycle. And it
Actually,
never stopped.
what
I
if we
didn't
just
like
change
that.
the priorities? What if we just say like if there's a run plane that gets precedence on your lower body?
Sure.
Let's just try it and see how it looks.
Now it'll take away the influence of the pelvis doing that squash, feel, and that's kind of like my,
Well, let's see how it looks. That's the.
it's true. Maybe you only appreciate the squash and stretch literally if you're stationary. If you're moving, you probably don't care about it. You just want to get to point B
Yeah.
as fast as possible.
So I am coming into my animation priorities and saying,
So jump 7. So that
so move that to below.
is the static order.
Yeah. And so move that down, and so that way it'll be higher priority than the walk on your upper body, and also above like abilities away from your body, but it'll be lower priority than your walk on the lower body. So and this will take a minute to rebuild.
And is there still a way? Because if I know if we're starting at frame 1 or 0 of the locomotion clip, I
Hmm.
can make a pose that's agreeable to that blending rather than something the opposite.
Yeah, but we still have the problem of you coming down and like you coming down into this fixed pose
We won't have that anymore
while
with
you're
that priority
sliding.
change.
What?
We won't have that anymore with that priority change, right?
Yeah,
It'll be a hard landing.
yeah. It'll be so when you just jump in place, it'll play your lower body, but the when you're running, the lower body will be overridden.
But yeah, when we do a stationary jump recover animation, there won't be a slight leap. It'll go straight into their idle pose. The pelvis bouncing sadly.
Building, building, building. since when was this a pants required zone? I
We don't have a handbook, so
Yeah,
we need to turn that in.
the mythical CSE employee handbook that we've been planning to make for 5 years now.
You only get yelled at if you dress up, not down.
Unless it's Fancy Friday.
Unless it's Fancy Friday.
Yeah,
I
you
got
can.
yelled at my interview for wearing khakis.
Wee!
Fun as a
So let's assume we don't get any thoughts
Show me some running again.
Okay, so here I go doing a walk.
my initial thought is
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Oh man, keep it.
I'm still
This is the best one. So clearly, well, we tried it. It was a bad idea. We're not going to do that.
Shit. If we just avoid, doing a jump like that, we can tuck in the arms. Still look like the chicken dance maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we do just want to keep your arms in tight. Um, like maybe if we just animate it with with the arms in.
Here's the other thing too: is there's cape animation on this, so when he goes down, the cape goes up. So he's walking, his cape's gonna be straight up.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna flip this over to Hatchery and play it with actual equipment. I need to do something sneaky. Can't let the stream see as I copy my login token from. Okay. Um, I'll just turn that on all the time. Oh, all right. We're gonna try this on Hatchery with full equipment.
Thinking, so if priorities are higher on, so lower body will go right into locomotion as soon as you're in contact. So as long as my recovery doesn't have arms out, I think we're good. So my
Yeah.
prepare and my loop, my hang, will have something like that. But as soon as it comes into, it's pretty fast. Though. Like the recovery is pretty much
Yeah, and obviously, like, he's not playing an appropriate recovery for holding that shield.
Yeah, every weapon or mutation is going to need its own jump cycle.
Wow. Okay, that's one to fix. So you can see here how I've like only implemented it for my local client yet, and not yet hooked it up for remote net clients yet, because this person, who's another who's logged in, who is that? Yeah, I can't see who that is, but you can see they're just floating up and down, whereas I'm actually playing it. So that's the thing to do for other players. But so how about I check this in, just commit this, and you can play with it a little bit.
What are
But
our takeaways from today, though?
I'd say probably want to, like, you would not actually do that. Like,
Yeah, it only goes to that extreme, anticipating hang time falling off a cliff, and
yeah,
I
like we
apologize for
originally,
that,
yeah, we
just
originally had our jump animation just be like you get your falling off a cliff animation, and when it's going to be a short kind of thing, then we don't want to do that. So,
okay. Well, I'll try to stick somewhere in between pose that we've seen in frame one of our locomotion, running somewhere right there. Our jump will be, somewhere.
so what if we just make different landings, like split it out into two clips, like
Pre-hit post hit.
um, yeah, but not even pre-hit post it, like what we could do is like you start off like playing a jump, and that jump can go on for as long as it needs to, and it can just and the hang in the air can go, and you'll gradually, oh crap, I'm falling a long way, like a second into it you can end up like this, but at first you'll just be like, um,
Will we know, or will we start to maybe have some times that I can animate to, knowing like what our base capsule jump might be, and then we can figure out what that time is and make an appropriate cycle for that duration, and then after that, once it goes outside that default capsule and it is in a hang time,
mhm.
then can take a clip that's
Or
appropriate to
just,
fall.
what you're saying is just like nail it into, like, have a normal jump cycle that's kind of approximate, and then like blend in, and oh shit, I'm falling if it runs too long.
Yeah, at the pinnacle of our jump, that'll be our pose that can migrate into the falling frame.
Yeah.
Do we ever use that one frame clip of falling that's coming up in nameplate?
Yeah, it's in a tiny section of it's in a tiny section of
Oh, okay.
prepare.
The cliff was in fact its nameplate.
So it never actually. All right, so the way it works in here is like a loop. Just when the tag here says loop, what that really means is that, hey, this is the loop section of prepare. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, so we're still technically in prepare. It's just a section of prepare is designated as loop, and the same thing of, that's the loop part of prepare. anything that's got a loop in it. It's really what was the last section. So this is the loop part of recover. That's the loop part of prepare.
I got you. So it'll never say loop like that.
Yeah, so it'll never say loop. It'll just say, you know, it'll say prepare and the frame rate, the frame that's displayed. Also, just in the game, I added a really simple little change of times. You can say only when you're like running no server mode. You can say timescale equals or slash timescale 0.1, and it'll run at 1/10 speed. Because I was like, this is really useful for debugging, but it doesn't work when you're connected to the server. So yeah, I'll put this in. Let's. I'll probably just move on to like making jump work for other players.
And I'll just start sketching up some different ways we can do jump. Maybe with a perpetual, bicycling. If it is staying in time, we want to investigate that. Or should we just focus on our.
You mean keeping it in sync with the walk almost,
Yeah.
so that if you're like pushing forward, you do this in midair. We could.
I mean, so if we know what the generic jump is, maybe we only know that's in one revolution. This. So we'll never see this. Maybe we'll be able to use an appropriate hang time for it.
And so the main thing I want to solve is like just you come down into a very static pose, and that's like I think that's the biggest problem visually that we've got.
So when we go straight into prepare, then it just jumps right into a dynamic pose where the feet are just kind of just touched off, toes are pointed down, it's already lifted off.
Yeah.
So I need to do that in its,
All right. That's that little foot slide's not great, but I understand why it's there.
and that doesn't have to be. It actually doesn't need to be there at all. Like from, say, our loop, our hang time clip,
Hmm.
that's when the feet need to start going to where they need to land appropriately to their standing idle. So I should have had it basically doing sliding in the air, right? I had him land feet together and then,
So basically, he would land with his feet in the same
in their great spot.
position as his idle. The alternative would be that instead of that slide, like he could have a step forward with that foot on his way out.
Could. Here's also thing. So if this
Because
is,
we're playing the whole recovery all the way through, but at the tail end of the recovery, we start to blend back to idle or whatever. So jumping up is
responsiveness though, like do we have that frame count to play with, or do we need to jump as fast as possible to end the clip? Taking that step is extra frame possibly.
we could give it a shot. I think the two alternatives are either, the jump loop already has his feet roughly lined up with his idle, so he can just, come straight down and go up, or the recovery, like he comes down and then takes a step forward as he comes up. It could just, come down, up to forward, and that might look good too. So we can try each of them and just see what looks good.
And maybe that step forward will also be in tandem of our velocity and maybe blend into our locomotion.
Yeah. Well, it's tough to say. Like what our,
Yeah, what
like that looks hard.
average jumping and things like that. Interesting. So if the priority for lower body is still walking if you're in motion, is there a way we can just give it priority for prepare and falling being a full body animation, but on just recovered, only recovery has the opportunity to have a higher priority for locomotion? Instead of all or nothing, is there a way we can exclusive?
So recovery gets priority over locomotion, but
That way we'll never see.
yeah, we could do that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, would you like to see that one?
Sure, if that's something you can send.
Yeah, take me a couple minutes, but I'm gonna I'm gonna drop this in for you so you can at least start iterating.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna animate something, and we'll see how it goes both ways with that priority shift, or
Hmm.
will we see it just playing as is.
Okay, and also I'm gonna hook it up for other players so that they will actually play. People besides me will play their jump animation.
Okay, sounds good. See
All
ya.
right, cool. Okay, so gotta catch up on the stream, and so yeah, I think Scott and I have kind of agreed away from the airplane arms, unless you're falling a very very long way. Before originally we just sort of played your falling animation while you were jumping. Just like if you're in the air, you get this animation. Doesn't matter if you jumped or not, and we're trying to do a little better than that. Um, so yeah, the airplane arms are probably going to go away. Um, so uh, in my opinion, it would look better if you tried to keep the shield in front while jumping. So we, yeah, there's just not a right now. He's playing just like the empty-handed animation. Like so, Scott has not gone through and hooked up full like different weapons and weapon grips onto each animation. So that's why he's you can see like even his hand is like slicing through the shield. The shield's just not set up as part of this at all. So that's a thing that's going to be on Scott and Sandra to do. Um, let's see, and yeah, so yeah, like different custom animations for every weapon combination is gonna happen, but once we fix the feet first. Um, yeah, I like I like the idea. I like the cracked ground. Um, yeah, that needs to be a special ability of like instead of feather fall, it's power fall of just bong. Um, and yeah, you that also tells me something about how much you didn't spend on your office chair fox flares because we do our stuff cheap here. All right, let me commit some stuff and I'll get this over to Scott ASAP. Yeah, so this speaking of office chairs, the Seattle people are going to get really nice office chairs because we have to compete against Amazon to recruit people out there, and you know all the super trendy giant tech companies like Amazon and Microsoft are like throwing amenities at people. Um, let's see. So I'm just rebasing my changes here, and er,
The more information sent in real term, we'll see what happens. Okay.
I've done something horrible with Get Interactive Rebase. How many custom actions do we have in source tree? Zero. If you need fancy things, you open up a command line. We've just never tried. Oh, I am apparently half asleep. Because the problem was I was not even on the right branch. I was like, why is my branch not rebasing? Because that was not the branch I was on. All right. gotta kill source tree before I.
Sam, are you fixing the gun? Working on it. Yeah, so am I. Are you in Discord? Maybe. I just went to push my change and got the conflict because you won't fix the part. Correct. So did you do all of it? I did all of it. Okay. Have them all. Like, yeah. You fixed one of like 6 places that had that same problem. Good. I fixed that one place and then it built, so. That's good. Did somebody else also do a partial fix that I just didn't know? No, I think it was like had some stale stuff in my build that. Oh, maybe.
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, I found the other ones after it went through.
All right, let's look at what kind of mess I've made here.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just rebase and see what happens. Yeah, go for it. You can just roll mine back, though I don't know if that'll make it easier.
Hey, everything looks awesome. Oh yeah. Okay, so I just is a series of things. First thing I did in here was I rebased all of my commits onto just current master. Then I did. Then my branch had like a whole bunch of different commits on it, and I squashed some of them together, but kept some of them broken out separately, so I could have, you know, a nice change history rather than a messy change history. Then once I'd done some squashing and some amending of comments, then I switched over to master, did a hard reset of master to my branch since my branch was strictly rebased on top, and then I pushed master. So what I ended up with was just master with 2 clean commits on top of it that were broken up into functional groups rather than my various stages of work in progress. All right. I'm going to get another drink because my throat's getting dry, and come back and look at what I need to do to make this look good for remote clients. Oh look, Visual Studio crashed. All right, we'll be right back once this finishes self-destructing. All right, suicidal. I like that idea, by the way. I really do. And jumping from high objects cause the character to go into a roll? Yes. So that is Dave Hancock. He waves to you. That is Gabe Ortega. Dave is currently working on some new VFX stuff in conjunction with Mike. Gabe is working on kind of the interface between skills and VFX and sound, so that, you know, as you build whatever weird combination of skill parts, we come up with a good and awesome choice of particles and sounds to play. All right. So, as I mentioned before, in terms of the game server, the client, each player is this Coke can, or soda can. That's one of the things that give away that, you know, my roots are actually deep south, because everything is a Coke, even if it's not a Coke. So, but yeah, so it's a cylinder. It can just rotate in place, and that cylinder just moves around in whatever ways, and it has a forward direction, but that's not necessarily the same direction that is like its forward is not necessarily the same as its direction of motion. So it's just kind of, so when that Coke can leaves the ground, we want to play like deciding when and how to play whatever animation is a thing that we have to make up after the fact, because it's all driven very much by the server. Oh. Alright, so that just doesn't feel good at all. There's some weirdness, out of syncness between the server and you. Because I'm getting below the ground, but the server... server is never getting below the ground. This is something that's happening entirely locally to me. So, yeah, our prediction between client and server has gotten messy. I'm going to have to spend some time looking at that. But anyway, that will be another day. AutoConnect equals 2. This will give me 2 clients at once, unless it's broken. So yeah, it's one client that's multi-boxing. No, we're not shipping this one. Okay, apparently that doesn't work anymore. That's a shame, because that definitely made it easier to test things. Alright, I think I'm actually going to just wrap up the stream now because I need to spend a little bit of time thinking about exactly what to do with something. Whether we want to have the client, like whether we want to differentiate on the server between you're in the air because you jumped versus you're in the air because because you got knocked back, and how we want to handle each of those, and whether we want to send that down to the client or not. So I'm just going to take a little bit of thinking time and thank all of you for hanging out. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna figure this out and get something in a little later this evening, and then we'll check it out on Hatchery by tomorrow morning at the latest. Talk to you guys later. And thank you all for hanging out.